Time to make that dreaded dovetail. I've been doing woodworking for 2 weeks now, and if I know one thing, it's that when you're making joinery, it looks real cool if you have two different colors. Unlike this, I've learned. No daylight. A little bit, a little bit. That's gonna be nice. At this point, it's all up to me. We'll see. Hi, editing Vegard här. I just wanted to stop by and say thank you so much. Just talking to my friends who gained some inspiration from this. I mean, it's really inspiring to me. So I just wanted to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I was going to just have the dovetail in this video, and then maybe do a second joint as well. But what I've done is just to thank you guys. I've gone ahead and made an extra long video where I try to show you more of the process, and I've also added the lap joint to, or like the I think it's called the cross lap joint because it extends across. You're gonna find all that in the timestamp, so just click on whatever you feel like you want to watch. Blown away by all of you, and let me know if this sort of form, the longer form with a little bit less cuts, is something that you guys want. All right. Thank you. Sorry for the intrusion. Back to the video. The planks are straight. They have no gaps in between them. I could join them easily and make what was it called? A cutting board? Not with these two. These two I'm going to try to make my first ever dovetail joint. So I've done all the preparations and made it as good as I can. I'm not going to be able to complain that, I'm using rough Furu, like soft wood. Well, it's still soft wood, but at least it's cut perfect like Legos. I'm going to start off by making my lines on one of these, and then I'll transcribe that over to the other once I'm done with this first one. So what we need to know about dovetails is the way that they work is unlike a finger joint where you have these straight lines that go out like a finger. These are going to extrude on each side here and become wider. They don't have to be this thick. They can be any thickness you want. It's still a dovetail. The only prerequisite for a dovetail is that it widens, so you can't get that pulling power to get that out. It's going to break the wood before it breaks the joint. I think I would like to have two, so I'm going to mark the center lines of the dovetails that I want. This is 8.7, so if I divide 8.7 on 3, that's calculator math. So 8 by 7 divided by 3 is the same as 9 divided by 3 minus 0.1. So it's 2.9. So this right here would be my center line for my first one, and 2.9 from the end, 5.8. That, I'm sure that's fine. It's close enough for what we want. Can you believe it? My mark is on 2.9. That is insane. Who would have thunk? So I got my center line. How wide do I want it? I think maybe a centimeter. Not too much. I just want to test out dovetails. I don't want to sit here for a week whittling away at the joint. And I think this is scary, so I'm going to do that. Then I go 5 millimeters to one side, and then I just want to mark like the very edge. Well, it doesn't really matter. I can go straight in, and then I can fix the angle later because it's widened. Cut the grain so that it's broken forever and ever. The wider we make it, the more it's going to be able to pull on this piece of wood when you try to separate the pieces. The steeper the line here, if I have a line like this, it's not going to be strong, right? So it has to be at somewhat of an angle. I'm not an expert, so I'm just going to do that. So I'm just going to mark that 2 centimeter line. It doesn't really matter if you get the degrees all perfectly lined up, as long as the two pieces of wood have the same angle. If you have 30 degrees or 45 degrees, it doesn't really matter, as long as, you know, the opposing part has the same. 2.3, 3.4. That's my dovetail end. So I need a line from there to there, essentially. And then I have this one, 3.4. So I need 3.9 down here. Make sure that I go through the grain as much as I can. So I want this edge right here to line up with this one up here, and I don't really care about the angle that much. Stanley knife is sharp, just like chisel sharp. If you've seen my other video, you would also know that chisel indeed sharp. So we have very, very, very clear marks here. This is why I love using the Stanley knife when I don't have like a proper thingamajig. $300 grams blacksmith's hammer. Furu, which means that it's not very forgiving. Shouldn't have done that. Gosh! In case of blowout, and you see we have blowout on this one down here. I went into this with an idea that I was going to do everything properly, but you know, the soft nature of the Furu and the hard nature of me, the pine, and I don't want to make another one just because it broke. That should be fine. I cannot use my chisel in here because then I'll you know, ruin everything, because that's not how dovetail works. Probably don't have to tell you that because you already know. That's 2.1. That's 2.1. Did I use? I used the wrong side, so I'm gonna do that again. All right. So maybe we can do it properly this time. technically, this is a dovetail. All right, so at this point we have a functioning dovetail. We could have cut out the piece in the middle here and actually have a finished dovetail, but that would be cheating. And you know what we say about cheating? Sometimes, but not now. Okay, I think that should be fine. Now we can just try to fit it a little bit snugly, and what I see is that right here it's a bit too snug, and right here. People have made beautiful stuff with pine since before I was born, and before we had tools that were this sharp and this good. So it's definitely me. See, this one is huge compared to this tail, the dovetail right here. A lot of room around it. So it's not perfect, but I didn't expect it to be perfect. Question is it tight? And the answer is probably not tight enough. The fitting of these joints, as I said in my previous video, the fitting of all of these joints, to make it look more like this, and more like this, and less like this, you need to take time in the actual fitting at the very end. So this is what we're doing right now. We're taking our time, being careful, patient, and hopefully we'll get a good result. Careful, careful. I could even put a plank on top here, like so, to spread the force out a little bit more, especially if you don't have a rubber mallet. If you have anything like this is way better at distributing the force evenly, so that you don't get ugly joints or ugly hammer strokes. Okay, so that's rather flush. It's not like super flush, but it's good enough for this. Alright, so the angle is still off a little bit, as you can see here. If I do this, you can see that we're coming over this corner while there's still quite a lip here. So we're still not quite there yet. This is the part where you need to pay attention and actually do your job correctly for it to become a good fit. Are you ready? Are you ready for a horrible fit? Square-ish. Okay. And right now I'm just going to freehand it. Right here. It looks perfect. I made that. Alright, the next joint we're going to do is a lap joint, and that's super easy, I think. Okay, so we're going to use this bent piece of recycled wood. So the lap joint is very, in theory, very simple. You have your one board, and you have your second board, and then you overlap one board on the other board by cutting out half of the board's thickness, so you can plot it in. So we're going to do that right now. Funnily enough, you can do all of this on the table saw. My neighbors are looking at me weird. 2.35. That means I want to take away like 1.1. Place this down, and then take the speed square, and then remove this because I want the line to be under where that was sitting. So that should be perfect. We're not quite there yet. This one is also a little bit too skinny. It needs a little bit more room. It's about, well, it's an entire pass of the saw blade, it seems. The other way. That way. That looks fine. This looks nice. It's snug that way and that way. So all we need to do now is take a little bit more from here. Okay, so does that fit? Yes, snugly. Very nice, very nice. But we can't get it in yet because we need to clean up these surfaces. First proper fitting. Getting some delamination, which means it was too snug, or perhaps just that I should have had something on top of it. This is really soft wood, so it goes apart easily. So that's something to bear in mind. We're gonna put glue in the on the side walls as well, because this will make it hold even better. So use our finger joint. See the bend of the wood here. It's smiling, which is also causing a smile here. So if you want this to be perfectly flush, you're probably going to have to go over it with a sander on both sides, especially if you have uneven wood like I do here. These are scrap. This is scrap wood. This is basically what I have. But what I could have done before I started, just like I did with the hi there. So now it's glued together, and it fits rather snugly. I would say that with a table saw, this one was probably one of the easier joinery methods, if you look away, if you disregard the butt joint, of course. But this is a really nice way to make two pieces of wood come together. This is the intro to really intricate, delicious Japanese joineries that we are going to get into. eventually. We just have to go through the first ones first. If you plane your wood and make it properly straight instead of smiling like this one does, you're not going to have these issues with having to go over with a sander afterwards, or sandpaper. You can also do it by hand, of course. I could take the chisel and just start working on the edge right here to make it go together, or I could use a hand planer. That would probably be even better. And then, of course, at the end, you go over with paper. You blow off all the sawdust, and then you oil it, then you're done. So this goes onto the wall, the joinery wall. I mean, we're getting there. It's the lap joint, and then the finger joint. That was a different episode. And then, you know, this looks pretty nice. I mean, especially, as I always say, it looks nice from afar, but, you know, far from nice. And this is the miter joint. This has some of our blood on it. This also looks okay. What you can do with this one is, you've probably seen it everywhere on YouTube. People put in these sideways pieces into the miter joint, and then, you know, they cut it off. Make sure that if you do that, you put it in this way, because the grain direction really does matter here. If you put it in like this way, straight in, with the end grain coming out, you're going to have a really weak joint. So what you have to do is put it in this way, with the end grain going across from the grain here. That would make it really sturdy. All right. That was the lap joint. Thank you. And also, thank you. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. There will be some toy making videos soon. I'm going to try to reproduce one of these, and also probably the truck that I fixed the other day. I want to make my own version of it. Stay tuned.